right, a beautiful morning. You're welcome to Women's Corner. My name is Rose Blossom. Thank God it's Friday. I'm excited to be here as always because here we give all the juicy information, education for every woman out there. And of course, supporting women, sharing your story, your success story, and everything is what we have to do here. But of course, today is quite different, even though it's a Friday. Yes, the topic seems a bit serious, not so soft, but trust me, it's something that is very, very important. And what we're talking about today is sexuality and teen mentorship, especially for the girl child. Now, a lot of people do not prepare their child for sexism. They do not prepare their child for what is likely to happen if they are not careful. So we're here to help you navigate the timing, the period, and how you can actually teach your children about their sexuality and to get prepared that the world out there is ready to, pounce on them. But anyways, to watch this program live, you can join us on Facebook and on YouTube at Galaxy TV News on Facebook and on YouTube. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channels, which are Galaxy TV Entertainment, Galaxy TV Comedy, Galaxy TV News, and we have Galaxy TV Vibes. So we have all the red carpet moments from all the events across the country. Usually before we introduce a guest, because it's a Zoom guest, we always have a tip. And because we're talking about sexuality and teen mentorship, which is very important, the way you mentor a teenager is different from the way you mentor an adult or a young adult. There are different stages to this thing, but just for safety for our children, let's quickly go for a short tip. Now, this tip is all about your children's safety. And while you're that, it's not just about your children. Other kids too, like they said, it takes the community to actually train a child. So yes, you see someone else's children and the person is going into danger or about to be gets into a risky situation, these are the things you need to do to keep them safe. So let's quickly go for our tip and we'll be right back to the studio to introduce our guest and definitely start talking. Stay with us, don't go nowhere. All right, yes, you're welcome back. You're still watching a Women's Corner. The last thing that was said in that tip is very important. If you know you are not comfortable with what is about to happen or what is going on or what is happening at that point, as a child, even as an adult, make sure you do not do it. Once you have this icky feeling like I'm not comfortable, why are you still going ahead to do it? It means there's some conscience and there's something telling you that you are not safe and you might not like the outcome of it. So yes, please, if you're not comfortable, do not do it. Anyway, let's introduce our guest. Our guest for today is Omoyemi Becky Olatunji. She is a lead consultant at Bold Life Dynamics. She's also a coach. She's an author. She is also a sexuality and a teen mentor. So yes, you can now see why we're actually talking about sexuality and teen mentorship, because she's the perfect person for this topic. Can we have Becky on the screen, please? Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
It's good to have you on the show.
I'm so happy to be on this special platform again. Happy New Year to you, Blossom.
Okay, so we're so excited to actually have you talk about something that you do, like every single day of your life. Because, when I told you the topic sexuality and teen mentorship, you're like, I was like, that's exactly what you are. So yes, it's going to be amazing. So my first question is, a lot of people do not even believe that teenagers, they need mentors, because they will be like, their parents are there, the school is there to tutor them. Probably when they start getting older, then that's when they probably start understanding and they need to read books, have good mentors and all of that. So we want to know, so people, mothers can know and adults can know, why do teenagers need mentors? Very importantly.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Just like you said, teen mentoring and sexuality and sex education is more like my life. Something I love talking about passionately, because many of us lack this education wise enough. So teen mentoring is something that we really need as a parents, especially in this part of the world where our teenagers are lacking. There's a gap between what they need to know and what is actually happening out there in the society. So someone needs to guide them, to support them, to encourage them, and also give them access to the right information. Now, some parents actually have that thing to give their children as regards information, as regards what their teenagers needs to know about sexuality and sex, especially with what is happening around in the society. But even at that, there's still a need for a teen to have a mentor. Now, who is a mentor? A mentor serves as a guide, serve as a like an influencer, a guide that will show the right way to the child to go. When I talk about mentorship, I'm also talking about someone that stands in as a support and as a way of encouragement to teenagers. So really, really, it is important for our teenagers to have mentors in the form of their teachers or in the form of their caregivers or around in their religious setting. They need a mentor to really help them, encourage them. And some teenagers, it's not everything they are able to tell their parents. Many of those things, that is not everything they can tell their parents. But when they have a guide or a mentor somewhere, they can easily talk to that mentor. In fact, you have no idea the things I hear from my team. I have a platform where we have mentoring sessions every month. And the things I hear from these children, in fact, I can't tell some parents because they will say, God forbid, it can't be my child. And that's the reason why the children can't tell their parents, because the way their parents will take this information. But they have somebody that they can confide in. And I've always ensured that around me, I have a non-judgmental zone. As in, I don't judge them. I make them relax. I trust them enough so that they can confide in me. So that is what a teenager is looking for. A mentor that can trust them, that can listen to them, that will not judge them. You know, the children, teenagers nowadays, they are doing things that we, during our times, we cannot dream of doing. There are some things that some of the, before Valentine, one of them brought his girlfriend to my office, came to introduce his girlfriend to me. This boy is just 16 years old, and he came to introduce his girlfriend to me. During my time, be me that I said I want to have a boyfriend. Even at the age of 18, I can't even say I want to have a boyfriend. Even at the age of 20, I can't say I want to have a boyfriend. I can't even say I'm talking to a boy, to my parents. They will kill me. So, but these children need someone that will help them. You know, he bringing the girl to me, I didn't judge him, but I appreciate that fact because that gave me opportunity to really educate him on making the right decision going forward. I didn't say, why will you have girlfriend at this age? He will end up having the girlfriend without me knowing. The same way a lot of these teenagers are doing things behind their parents. So teen mentoring is a must or is very, very important for our teenagers nowadays. Thank you.
You said something very key, and that is the part where you see teenagers nowadays, they tell you, I want to have a boyfriend. In fact, you're even talking about teenagers, secondary school, primary school. You'd be like, oh, that's my boyfriend. As more as I'm fidgeting right now because I don't even know what to say, because I can imagine when you hear each other, I have a boyfriend. I know auntie, she even has two boyfriends. She has Lekon and this other person. I'll be like, how do they even know what a boyfriend is at this point? But yes, we know social media and time has evolved. A lot of things are changing. So if we need to catch them young, we have to start at a very tender age. So that brings us to the question, when is the right time to start teaching your girl child, your children, how and what not to understand about sexuality? Because trust me, I believe if you give them the first-hand information, it saves them from learning it outside, because they could get the wrong and the bad information from outside. So when is the right time to speak to your child, or to maybe try to involve her in such sexuality talk, because they need to understand that women can easily be sexualized in every area of professionalism, even being as a child, even being a career person. They always still want to sexualize you because you are a woman. Now, how do you tell a child and start getting her prepared for this thing that is about to come? Oh, she's gone offline. Okay, well, we'll still have her back. Now that is something I need to get a response for. But anyways, because it's Friday, we have an event to play for you. So let's quickly play this event. This is Max Rave Party, and of course this was covered by Galaxy TV exclusively. So let's quickly watch this event, and of course we'll come back. By then we'll have Becky back to us, and she'll answer the question, which is, when is the right time to talk to our girl child about sexuality? We'll be right back. Stay with us. Okay, hello, welcome back. Yes, we're having that was an amazing Max Party covered by our very own Galaxy TV, and bringing it to you to make it very interesting. So yes, we're talking about something, but right back, we already have Becky still on the call. It was just a network issue, but now she's back and we'll continue with our discussion. Okay, so this time around, we asked the question before the network, wasn't trying to be friendly. I asked the question, I said, what was the right time for people to be able to, not people, basically parents, mothers, fathers, to talk to their girl child about sexuality? When is the right time? When should they start? And when should that deep sexuality talk, when should it now come in after, they are now growing, probably at teenagers, being a teenager, or they've, no more teenagers, but young adults? When should they have that bigger talk and the lesser talk as a child?
Okay, so the best time for you to start teaching your child sex and sexuality education is from age zero. From age zero, many people do make that mistake of when my child is older, that is when I'm going to talk sex. No, sex and sexuality education has to start from age zero, and we have age appropriate sex and sexuality education that you can give your children. So there are some there are things you can teach your child from age 0 to 18 months. There are things you can teach there are sexuality education you can give your child from 18 months to 5 years, and then from 5 years to 10 years, from 10 years to 15, and then from 15 to 18, and after 18 years the child is an adult. So we have age appropriate education that you can give children at each phases of their life. So if your child is now 18 and you are now like, let me start sexuality education, I think you are late. I think you are very, very late. No, because by that time you will have prepared your child with the right sexuality education. It's from the reception classes, kindergarten, nursery school that you start teaching your children what their body part is, what private part is, what public part is, and what each of those parts are meant for. So at another age, you start telling them, this is boundaries. This is how you set boundaries. This is where someone is not supposed to cross. And you also teach respect. Learn to say no. You teach consent. Learn to say no, and also expect the no of people. So, but when they get to the age of teenager to 18, between 12 and 18, that is that point to start teaching them about production, what they need to understand about sex, like what sex is, why they need to avoid premarital sex, and all that. So sexuality education is expected to have started from the age of 0 or maybe 18 months till the age of 18 years. So it does depend on what you're telling them. Then the mistake many of our parents, African parents, make is that they don't allow their children to mention some things in their hearing. Like, for example, they don't talk about the private parts. They don't use the right name for the private parts. And these are the things that sexual predators are using to catch our children. When you don't tell their children what penis is, and you're saying and this thing, and somebody out there is telling them and the penis, and also teaching them some wrong stuff, they will not be able to communicate the right word to you. Why? Because you're not teaching them the right thing. You're not teaching them the right thing. So we need to start telling them what they need. It's not too late for an 8-year-old child to know about sex. Why? Because the society now is using every means. Now we have cartoons that is teaching gay, that is teaching heterosexual sexuality or homosexuality to our children, and you now want to wait till when your child is 18 before you start telling them what sex is. No, you need to start teaching them what sex is. You need to start teaching them what their body, the changes their body is going through, why their body is going through these changes, and what they need to do to take care of it. It is very, very important, because when you start early, you start teaching your children and sexuality early. Let me just give 3 reasons why it's important. Firstly, it boosts their confidence. Boosts their confidence and self-esteem. Now, when I teach sex and sexuality classes for my teenagers, now many of them, they are always shy. They don't want to talk about it. Even when they have questions burning in their hearts, they won't be able to ask. Why? Because their parents do not really expose them to sex and sexuality education. Even when those changes are happening in their body, they can't talk about it freely. So teaching your child sex and sexuality education early, help them to be confident and have self-esteem even about their body. Then secondly, it prevents misinformation. When you are teaching your child the right information about sex and sexuality, they don't go out there and hear it, because what you don't do as a parent, or and especially if they don't have teen mentors, the society is waiting to teach them. The social media is waiting to teach them. We have it in TVs, we have it in all social media platforms, we have it everywhere. Misinformation about sex and sexuality. So it prevents misinformation on sex and sexuality. And also it helps to teach boundaries and concepts. Now your child will be able to know when someone is crossing the boundaries, when someone is not respecting their concept. Your child will be able to say no when they feel like someone is going beyond where the person should go. It will give your child even the right standing or the right foundation to be able to have body autonomy, like they have power over their body, and they are not allowed no one is allowed to go beyond their public part. That's the public part and the private part. Their private part is their private part. So that is why parents need to teach sex and sexuality education very early. We have lots of benefits. So let me just stop with this three. Thank you.
I love what you just said. Now, it's very important that when you are now trying to discuss, maybe with a child, that is still probably trying to understand exactly the information you're giving. If the child start asking some deep questions, questions that you'll be wondering, and this child these days are pretty smart. When you tell them A, they're already probably guessing what B, C, D could be, the outcome of it. Now, when they start asking all those deep questions, okay, like I saw a video today where a child was on FaceTime with the mom and the father was there. So the mom traveled and the mom was telling him that the child, she would be back by December. And he was like, oh, who is not going to play with us? Then the mom was like, don't worry, daddy's there to play with you and you're there to play with daddy. Now, as the talk went on, he now said, okay, I'm fine. Dad could play with me, but who's going to play with dad? And dad was like, you're going to play with me. And the mom was like, yes, dad is going to play with you. And she's like, no, I can't play with you like that, because who's going to play with you at night? And the mom was, you could see the face on the video. She was like, what? I'm talking about a child that is definitely not up to 7, probably 5. I'm being serious now. And the father was like, I do not understand what you mean. What do you mean play at night? He said, because I always see mom ride you. Like literally said that, and was demonstrating what was it. And that was where the call and the video ended. So you can see that these children tend to see things that, yes, they've not had time to ask you questions what exactly it means. So in their brain, they are putting 1 + 1 together and they're giving them the answers. So how do you make sure that you correct such notion? How do you make sure that you do not give your child the wrong sex education even before you start speaking to that child? Because look at it now, I'm sure the parents of that boy has never sat that boy down to talk about anything like that. But here he is, he's trying to even tell them that I know what is going on. So you don't need to, try to, but he doesn't understand. So the question is, how do you prevent your children from having this sex education, thinking that you as a parent, you're so hidden that they don't see or know these things? How do you help them and shape them better before they start getting the wrong information themselves?
Thank you so much for that. I can imagine the embarrassment and the way the parents will uncomfortable. Yes, it happens that way. It happens that way. Many parents don't talk about sex and sexuality, not because they don't want to, but because they are uncomfortable talking about it. And if you, as a parent, you can't talk about sex to your children, yeah, that and without feeling uncomfortable about it, then that means you also need to work on yourself because you can't give what you don't have. And our parents, I knew when I started my menstruation, I started very, I think I was 16 years old when I started my menstruation. And I remember the what my mom and my elder sister told me then that don't you are now a woman, oh, don't allow boys to come near you. Don't allow boys to come near you. Don't allow boys to touch you. Now, literally, what they are trying to say is I should not allow the boys to have sex with me, but they can't say that word. They're just using something to cover up. And that's what many parents are doing. So, and when we or the children ask them direct questions, they feel uncomfortable and they use something else to cover it. Now, if you are giving your child, like I said, we have age appropriate sex and sexuality education, which is supposed to have started at a very early age with your child. And if a 7-year-old, yes, it's okay for a 7-year-old to talk about sex because now they don't really understand what sex is really. But they see people doing it either through the social media, through the media, or they see their parents doing it, and like in the mind of that young boy, like playing. The parents supposed to have let the child know in some ways that okay, what we are doing is what is reserved for daddy and mommy, what is reserved for adults, the kind of play that only mommy can do that. You understand? If they are not really that comfortable with really coming out, they can just use that word. Okay, the kind of play we're playing at night, you see us doing is what mommy and dad does, and that is okay for mommy and dad. That way, the child will not be saying who will play with daddy because he already knows that it's mommy that can play with daddy. You only know that it's only mommy that can play that kind of play with daddy. So they need to understand that at a very, very early age. Or else, there is this story that my mentor used to say about this girl that she asked her parents what is sex. I think the child should be about 8 or 9. I can't remember. It's been a long time. So that she asked the mother what is sex. Mother shut her down. How can you say sex in this house? God forbid. This is a Christian. Oh, don't ever mention that word again. So she went to her daddy the next morning when she was prepared for school. She asked daddy, Daddy, what is sex? Daddy said, no, don't ever. A child of God must never mention that kind of a thing. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say that in this house. They shut her down. So that morning when she was going to school, the school driver, she met the school driver and asked the school driver, Sir, please, what is sex? And now the school driver said, okay, I'm going to show you what sex is. Just promise me that you're not going to tell anybody. And she said, I'm not going to tell anybody. That was how this school driver started molesting the girl for years. For years, started molesting this girl. Why? Because the parents do not give her the education that she needed. She has to go out to go and look for the education. And like I said earlier, having the right sex and sexuality education with the children prevents misinformation. So you as a parent, you are the first place or the first person that should educate them about sex and sexuality. Else, if you don't give them that right information, they said nature above vacuum, above space, like that space is there. If they can't get it from you, you can't fill up that knowledge gap in them. They will go out and go and look for the meaning of those things. And God help us, let them not end up in the hands of the wrong ones. So parents first of all need to educate themselves on what the age appropriate sex and sexuality education they need to give their children before they can start administering it to children. So for a 7-year-old or 8-year-old to be telling the father or that this who will play with you at night shows that the parents have not been giving children the appropriate sex education that they need to know, they need to give. And also, while we are also doing that, we parents also need to do our part too by protecting this mind from what they're not supposed to see. Even when they mistakenly see it, they already have the right information to it to, okay, they can define, okay, this is what I saw mommy and daddy doing, and it's only meant for daddy and mommy, not for me as a child, or not for any other person that is not an adult. Do you understand me, ma? So we need to have knowledge of what is the age appropriate education that we should give our children as regards sex and sexuality. That way they will know the right thing pattern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was so deep. Well, it's so sad for the parents who were not able to, advise their child on what not and what to do, and yet she got the worst education ever from a stranger. Anyways, I hope she's getting better, and I know therapy works a whole lot. Now, for let's take it from the angle of maybe, just maybe, we have people who are actually teaching their children, their teenagers, on sexuality and mentorship. And of course, along the line, you find out that they will not be there forever. They will actually go into university, and the pressure in university, trust me, it takes a disciplined soul to go to a university sane and come out the same way you went in, but maybe much better. It takes a whole lot. Some people go in there with, good manners, good culture, and when they are back, the parents will keep asking themselves, is that my child? So at this point now, and we notice that a lot of young people, a lot of young adults, teenagers, are going into university now. They are going into university, colleges, and all of that. And sometimes I feel like it's so much for them, the pressure, so they fall into the pressure and become or do things that they do not want to do. Now, when it gets to that point, no, there's a part where the parent has to play. Now, when a parent notices that the child that was well cultured at home, being a teenager, gets to university early with so many distractions here, and their friendship, parties, attires, the kind of fashion sense, different things are just distracting you. Of course, your books, A game, you're bringing your A game, you're getting what you need to get. But the lifestyle, the value keeps dropping and keeps changing. At this point, it's usually very difficult for parents to know what to do. Some of them will just change school. Some of them will tell them, okay, you're not going to that university again, I'll put you in a private university. And later they'll find out that, a private university is even probably the worst, having to put them there. At this point, what would you advise a parent when you notice that your child, despite all the training, all the education, all the mentorship, all the sex education you've given to the child, somehow the child decides or was bent down to the peer pressure that he or she faces in school or around the society? But of course, the parents is probably not there to always caution. Now, when the parents notice this change, what is the best way to actually make sure that that child comes back to, let me put it to normal, comes back to normal and not, overdo things?
Okay, so thank you for that question. But like I said earlier on, that you can't give what you don't have as a parent. If you have given your children the right and appropriate education as regards their sex, sexuality, and what have you, their lifestyle, instill with them the appropriate values and all that they need to know in making informed decision, it will help them to be a whole and sane adult when they go out there. But there are cases where we see children being falling into peer pressure, due to peer pressure, falling into different vices or their lifestyle, So because I work in an educational institute, I see this thing a lot. A child that has not been that was that just gain freedom. You see, many of us also experience that, when we leave secondary school and we get into an institution and we just realize that we can do anything we want to do. No one is there to tell us no. No one is there to caution us. No one is there to tell us when to wake up, when to sleep, and we just see that we have a newfound freedom and we overuse that freedom, and most of us end up at the other side, not to go side. So when a parent see their children like that, what they first of all need to do is they need intervention, and that way, intervention in the sense that they need to get their children into counseling room with the right professional person, not just any kind of counseling. And this is where many parents miss it. When they see their children going through all these tough things, that many children go through when they are transitioning between puberty into adulthood, they feel like, oh, they need to change the environment, they need to take them to see their pastor, or they need to do some, they just try to take drastic measures that may end up making the child get worse instead of getting better. So what they just need is counseling. Let take the child into counseling to find out the root cause, because without you knowing the root cause, taking the child out of the environment may not solve the problem. So you need to know the root cause. What caused this, and what can we do about it? That is intervention. So when you get the root cause and you are able to handle it, address the root cause, you can return the child back to that environment with the belief or with the faith that your child is going to be better. So but I always preach prevention, because prevention is always cheaper than intervention. Prevention is always cheaper. Now when you raise your child with the right um education, especially about that, before I even go into that, many of us parents, we make that mistake of, okay, our child has finished secondary school, we want to send the child abroad, and you just send the child abroad without giving the child appropriate education on their sexuality, on their sexuality comprises, when we talk about sexuality, comprises their sexual orientation, their sexual identity, their sexual values, and what have you, intimacy and all that. That is why many of these children go out there, and before you know it, some of them become gay, or some of them say, I'm not identifying as a female or as a male, I'm identifying as something else. Why? Because they don't have the right information or the right foundation in their own sexuality. That is why they can go out and be informed with wrong information, and they feel like, oh, their sexual orientation has changed, their sexual identity has changed, and they want a new identity and all that. Parents need to do their work by educating their child and giving them a sound foundation in sexuality and sex education before sending them out to a strange environment where all the things that they've taught will be tested. Everything that they've taught will be tested, whether you are there as parents or not. Some parents, they don't want their children to go and stay in the hostel. They say that the children should stay with them in the house. But are you aware of who they are interacting with among their classmates? Are you aware of what they are doing during the day? You are not. So that is why it is important for parents, us African parents especially, to instill in our children the right foundation about who they are, their self identity, and then who they are, their self worth, so that when they go out there, it will be easy for them to stand their ground regardless of peer pressure that they're feeling, regardless of the pressure that is coming from social media, and regardless of the pressure that is coming about their body, or their people talking about their body and all that. So that sound foundation is very, very important, and that will go a long way in helping our children to grow up into a whole adult. Thank you.
To draw the
That's
curtain
are you
upon the
there?
end of the program, it's been such a beautiful ride. From all I could deduce is the most important thing is parents must educate their child first, so they don't go out there and
Yes.
get the information. Another thing is, you said, always, prevention is better than intervention, because when you're intervening, some things has already gone bad. Ideas are already been meddled with. But if you always try to prevent, it's always better than intervention, which is the same thing people always say is prevention is better than cure. Some people say education is expensive. Education is expensive. And people now say, try ignorance. Then you know ignorance is more expensive than anything
More
money can buy.
expensive.
If my money cannot buy it. So yes, thank you very much. And another amazing session with you, Becky. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. We do appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Okay. And that's it from Olatunji. Becky, she did amazingly well, and yes, I'm sure mothers learned one or two from that. If you have not picked anything, if you're just joining us, you can go to our Facebook or YouTube at Galaxy TV News and watch this program, because we talked about sexuality and teen mentorship, especially for children. This time around, not just the girl child, but for children. I hope you have a fabulous day for yourself. It's thank God it's Friday, so coming your way again is The Buzz, where we'll be doing the Friday, some training videos, and of course relationship and marriage might come in, and some music to tie our Fridays down. We have amazing fun with you. Of course, thank you again. I'll see you pretty soon. Of course, after the news on the then we'll be having The Buzz. Do have a beautiful day for yourself. My name is Rose Blossom. Bye for now.